The main point of this video is a giveaway, so I'm going to go ahead and tackle that first, and then we'll get to the F-15, which will be the remainder of the video. I'm doing another giveaway. This one is going to be a premium pack giveaway. Anything that is currently on sale is going to be up for grabs. I want it to be on sale, that way I can give 2 winners a premium pack instead of just having 1 winner, because, well, ultimately that's what's in the budget. And so taking advantage of the sale, there's really no better time to do it. But that also means this whole thing has to be done and over with before the sale actually ends. And so what that means is by the time this video is uploaded, the giveaway has started. You will have 12 hours to comment on this video, and any 2 random comments that I pick before 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time are going to be the winners. Don't bother with typing multiple comments. I mean, I guess unless you really want to, but it's not going to give you any more entries. I do have a way to filter out the actual user, so please don't spam the comments. It's fruitless anyways. And do make sure that you leave your Discord in the comment that you're typing out in hopes to win. Because if you do win, I want to be able to contact you immediately, because the sales are for limited time, and so we got to make sure we get this done and over with. If your Discord is not in the comment, unfortunately, I will just have to randomize another winner instead. Once the 2 winners are selected and claim their prize, I will actually post that on the community tab of my channel, just so that you guys can see somebody did actually win and I'm not just making this up. So go ahead and type out your comment right now, make sure it has your Discord in it, and good luck. The winner will be selected by 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now let's take a look at the F-15A. This plane has grown on me a little bit, mainly for 2 reasons. Number 1, the Gripen isn't as fun as it was on patch because it's received quite a few nerfs since the actual patch day. And so no, I have an actual reason to go ahead and explore some of the other top tiers that got added. The second reason being that the chaff pulse Doppler interaction, I guess, has been fixed for radars now, so Sparrows are a little bit more usable than what they were before. If you didn't know, pulse Doppler radar for some reason would sometimes just lock onto chaff, and that was really frustrating when you were trying to use your AIM-7s, mainly because that is pretty much half of your effective killing potential. It does have AIM-9Ms, and I would say that that is honestly the F-15's main weapon is the AIM-9Ms, even though it doesn't have HMD, which does kind of hinder your ability to deploy the AIM-9M in really critical and impactful situations, if that makes sense. But it's not that big of a deal because the AIM-9M is still a really good missile regardless. The only problem, of course, was when your Sparrows very rarely actually ever hit their target because they were so easily chaffed, and they're just not that great in the first place compared to something like the R-27ER, which is absolutely everywhere when you're fighting the Su-27 teams. It makes getting kills a little bit difficult sometimes. The one thing that the F-15 does have, and it has always had, is the flight performance. This flight model is without a doubt the best flight model you could have in ARB right now, and I think it's pretty much been that way ever since it came to the live server. The low speed dogfighting ability has been nerfed a little bit, but it's still more than adequate, and you're still going to be out accelerating pretty much everybody. You're going to be faster than most everyone at all times unless you are intentionally trying to slow down. You're going to be climbing better than everybody. You're going to turn better than most people at high speeds. And even at low speeds, this thing can pull some AOA. So yeah, basically, again, best flight model in ARB for sure. The Gripen, the F-16C, they have great flight models as well. The F-16A Block 10 has a fantastic flight model. But all things considered, I do think that for a typical ARB match, the F-15A's flight performance is going to be the most useful, and it really does help you get into positions where you can actually try to make a difference in the match. Now, some of you may have seen that the AIM-7 got a buff, quote unquote, and that it doesn't actually blow up after losing lock for now 20 seconds. Well, that's great and all, but it changes absolutely nothing about the Sparrow. It's not a buff, literally nothing about it has changed, and I'll show you why. Look at the RWR on the left of the screen. The missile is launched, my buddy has unlocked me, and you see it fading out. Well, with the AIM-7, when that fades out, it means the missile is basically turned off, and whether you regain lock or not, that Sparrow is not going to continue tracking. And if you replay that clip, it happens very fast. From the moment he unlocked me, it took about 3 seconds for it to actually fade away. And so essentially what that means is if you lose lock with your Sparrow, you have 3 seconds to reacquire that lock for it to actually turn back on and continue tracking the target successfully. If you don't manage to do so before it fades away on the target's RWR, That means it's just not tracking anymore, and it never will. Your missile is essentially dead, and it's just gliding through the air for the remaining 17 seconds that it has now before it blows up. And so basically my point here is, a lot of people see that and think it's a buff that basically makes it similar to the R27ER, and that you can launch and unlock, let the missile fly down range, and then relock the target again once it gets closer. Well, you just can't do that with the Sparrow still. I believe this is just due to the fact that the AIM-7 doesn't have data link like the R27s do, but I'm not sure why the R27 has the ability to relock and reacquire after being unlocked for such a long time, and the AIM-7 doesn't. Again, I think it's data link. Somebody can let me know in the comments down below. I wanted to include this clip because this is pretty much what my average F-15 game looks like. I try to position myself in a way that I get a lot of kills in very quick succession in the furball with the AIM-9M, but if you know me, I have some sort of magnetic attraction to the ground, and I cannot keep my airplanes in the sky for the life of me, and so I end up eating the dirt. But I do want to play that clip because I truly believe that if you tried to actually fight with the AIM-9M in mind as your primary weapon, you're probably going to have a lot more success and a lot more impact on your matches than if you're flying around at the beginning of the match trying to get your Sparrow kills as your primary weapon and positioning and playing accordingly. I think it is much more effective to think of the Sparrows as your backup weapon, or for those rare chances you might have somebody head on at altitude and you can manage to fire first at them, great. But if not, I do really recommend trying to play with the AIM-9Ms first and see what kind of snowball effect you can have on the furball in favor of your team as far as numbers go. Because of tracking suspension type IRCCM that the AIM-9M has, it is without a doubt the best missile in the game to avoid being accidentally flared. That makes it the absolutely perfect missile for coming down on people through orbital strikes, trying to get people that aren't paying attention from long range, and all around just good at top-down sneak attacks in rapid succession, and that is why having an HMD with it is very strong as well. Another general tip I have for the F-15 would be, when you're using the radar, using the pulse Doppler head-on mode is fantastic for finding and locking and tracking targets that are flying towards you, but if somebody begins flying at a weird aspect and you think you're at risk of notching, or maybe the target is beginning to flash on your screen as in it's about to lose lock, switch to the normal pulse Doppler mode of the radar. It is much better at handling targets that are at lower speed gates and not as much closure rate, so you're less likely to lose lock. And the third random tip I have for the F-15 is that these engines are pretty dang on fuel efficient, so I really don't find myself needing a fuel tank in any way. It's just extra drag. You really don't ever need it. Just run first stage afterburner on your way to the battle, and then at that point you're pretty much good to go. I almost have never ran out of fuel. I don't think I actually ever have in the F-15 before the match has ended. These matches go so fast, the match is pretty much decided in the very first opening minute or two of combat, and so there's really not that much of a need for the extended fuel tank range. This is one of many Sparrow moments on the screen here. I have no idea what that missile is doing. You could even say that it doesn't know where it is, guys. And, well, that was hilarious. Anyways, this is one of the very few matches I've had in the F-15 where the flight performance actually mattered. I think people overhype on flight performance a little bit too much. Yes, I agree, it is absolutely awesome on the F-15, and if you do get in situations like this, it is great to have. But in general, the game is usually decided, in the very first opening minute or two of combat. You really aren't going to have to dogfight people, and if you are dogfighting people, again, it's probably because the game has already been decided and it's just the last guy left, or you're the last guy left fighting for your life. Of course, I'm going to include it into the video though, because this is pretty much some of the most interesting gameplay you can find at top tier, is these rare situations. I will say it probably happened once or twice out of about 10 matches I played in the F-15 getting this footage, so it's not that it's impossible, it's just not that common. For some people, flight performance is a really big deal, and for other people, as long as the jet is just good enough, they care a lot more about what kind of weapons it's packing, and I would kind of agree with that group a little bit more. As long as the plane can fly, it can go fast, I don't really care if it's got a bad flight model in dogfights like the Su-27. It's more about what it can do in the very early stages of the game, how it can get the ball rolling for your team, and that's very often an irreversible effect against the enemy team, and they're just not going to be coming back from it. That of course can go both ways, but either way, my point here is I don't think that there's a very clear best top tier jet right now. I think there's a good handful of jets that could be placed in the conversation right now, and rightfully so, but just for the F-15 versus Su-27, it's just down to preference really. You have really good flight performance in a mid kit, or a great kit in mid flight performance. You decide what you want. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later.